Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Welcome to episode 111 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports, from the institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, the professors. We are filming from our home studio and sending a signal live to our KSOH 1230 AM studio with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, none other than Ralph Cooper, University from Houston, Texas. Boy, it was a big time weekend. I don't know how y'all got it in, but I felt so big about it. We got to debut our Sunday show in regards to the weekend that was, in terms of highlighting that big Saturday. That was crazy. Look for more of that to come. And then we're doing the Thursday show. Man, it's getting busy around here. Charles is doing his big thing on the 1400 Club. I see y'all streaming now. Y'all done took a step in another direction. Mike Washington, the 1876 Sports and Culture Show podcast is getting things done. And I heard they moving in the direction and start streaming. Boy, I tell you, it's getting real nice out there. The big time. I'm with some big time people on the show now.
Doc, I don't know if you can tell, I still got my last dragon glow from the weekend, from everything going on around Jackson State. So, you know.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. You need that glow. That was big time. Mike, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. We pulled out another one in the Pseudo Spring Labor Day Classic. All is well in the land. I mean, we had a lot of action this weekend. We had two quarterbacks named Jalen coming out on top. A lot of close finishes, a lot of close calls. It sparked a lot of conversation. And there's all kinds of outfall coming from this weekend. So doing really well. I think folks are generally happy to see football back on the map.
Yeah,
I think you make a great point when you talk about all the football going in and things of that nature. Before I get into it, I'm gonna give a little shout out, a little love out to represent for the Aggies, man. I talk a little noise and somebody made sure I get it. I'm gonna give him a shout out a little later in the show once I see him online. But I told him, you send me the caps.
He hooked you up.
Put it on.
He hooked you up.
We're gonna get it done. So Aggies are in the house. I see Gio talking to stuff. They put it out there. They said they wanted to rep a little more of the A&T on the show. I said, I see, I understand. We'll make it work. So
we don't talk about A&T?
I still don't understand that Geo stuff. We went to the championship. That's all I talk about. Geo. What is Geo? I'm sorry, Aggie fans. I digress.
Exactly. Well, let me get a little shout out before I go to y'all with some good news of the day. Carlton Singleton, Chad Cooper, Eric Cavil showing up in the house. Kay Johnson always giving us love. Good evening. Sarah Wendy Jenkins Bishop, Ricky Burden, Willie Alex Hines, and Chuck Hunt. Those gladiators and ladies are in the house getting it done, showing us some love, making sure we give all these folks. Willie Alex Hines in here, Alan Bozeman in the house. A.D. Drew is in the house. And that's Brian A.D. of Sports Rap. BCSN's finest getting it done. Carlton Singleton, a lot of love there. Willie Alexander said, your interview with the Tuskegee women's coach was great. Go Lady Tigers. Giving a shout out to AD. They did a masterful job of breaking down the NAIA tournament and then showing love for the Tuskegee women's basketball program, the only program, men or women, to get into the NCAA Division II tournament. So shout out to them. Jarvis Austin, Reginald Johnson says, I love in the house. Chad Cooper, good evening from Baton Rouge, LA. Go Jags. Yes, y'all. Let's get in there. With that, let me go straight to you, Mike. What is some news of the day? What you got for us?
Man, there is so much news of the day. But
it is a lot going on out.
Let me start off a little high level. HBCU Game Day published an article. Commissioner has a message for fans of the SWAC, for bands of the SWAC. In an interview He cited some concerns that some of the band fans had. You know, the band is a big part. Bands are a vital part of the Southwest Athletic Conference football experience, having been around the league pretty much all his life. No one understands that more to this league than Dr. Charles McClellan. So when the conference announced that there would be no visiting bands for the abbreviated spring season, he knew there would be some concern, some pushback. And so McClellan expressed this on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, or Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on this past Sunday in a special show. This is not a typical year, he says. We want to get the football games in. We want the bands to be able to participate, so they participate at home, he said. We don't want them to go on the road. We consider the health and safety of our student athletes and the band and those folks spectating. We still hold them of high priority. So he shared this on Inside the HBCU Sports, or Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab this past Sunday on a special edition Sunday morning show. So a lot of fans have called in, said, you know, when are we going to get the bands? He's steadfast with that. He and the SWAC are steadfast with their protocols and measures, and he shared that on the Inside, or Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab show. Very candid interview, very candid. So
good show there, and good information. Y'all did a great job breaking it down. We had BJ Jones that came on there and really gave us some great insight in terms of football. So we'll be looking to doing a little more of that. So stay tuned for that. And then shout out to HBCU Game Day.
Yeah.
Stephen Gates for giving love in there, mentioning, giving us credit for doing that interview. Shout out, they're doing great work over the HBCU Game Day. You can't even question that. Put in the work. And you might sneak around and hear a little more from us with Stephen Gates. I got some working in the magic about how we might get some more mix of that going. So stay tuned, listen in. We're going to try to give you all the information you want. Getting down with Roy and what he does in the production. They have a lot of stuff going on BCSN. Stay tuned, continue to hang on, and we're going to give you what you need and what you want. Charles, what you got for us?
Sure thing. Let's take a look. Got information from the Southwestern Athletic Conference today as postseason honors. They came down. Jackson State, we'll start with the women. Jackson State's Deja Rogan was named the Player of the Year, while fellow teammate Amisha Williams. She claimed Defensive Player of the Year. Arkansas Pine Bluff's Khadijah Brown was tabbed the Newcomer of the Year. Alabama State's Farrah Pearson was selected as the Freshman of the Year, and Alabama State's Freeman Jackson was voted the SWAC Coach of the Year. So nice postseason honors there for these young ladies. Looking at the All-SWAC first team, Amisha Williams from Jackson State, Dariana Lewis from Alabama A&M, Deja Rogan from Jackson State, Shemaya Ward from Alabama State, and Ayana Emanuel from Alabama State. The All-SWAC second team, Taya Bridges from Texas Southern, Khadijah Brown from Arkansas Pine Bluff, Genovia Johnson from Southern, Deshaun Harper, Alabama A&M, and Jayla Crawford from Alabama State. So kudos to these young ladies for being named first and second team All-SWAC.
All Alabama State, Jackson State. Oh my God.
I don't know if I can argue. They were deep and they controlled the league.
Absolutely.
And there anybody else that you thought maybe they should left off? I thought it was pretty appropriate though.
I thought they nabbed it. I thought they pretty much hit it on the head in terms of the performance from this past season. I didn't really have any issue with the players that were named. I think there'll be Jackson State fans, of course, they will root hard for their coach in terms of being the coach of the year, Tamika Reed, and she was certainly deserving. But this year it goes to Freeman Jackson.
Did you have any consternation on all those on the top first team? You don't get that. Mike, did you have any?
No, none at all. I think they nabbed it. I think there'll be some personal preferences from the Tiger Nation, but I think they nabbed it with that one, unlike the men's.
No problem. Let me give a shout out to Lonnie Shaw. Thanks, Lonnie. He said looking good. Aggie proud. I said, yeah. I told him I feel like a champion.
Hi, Lonnie. How you doing? Shout out to Lonnie Shaw.
Yeah, for real. Let's
go
back
why.
to Charles and stay with you, Charles. Any other news you got going on?
Sure thing. Let's take a look on the men's side in terms of the postseason honors as Jackson State's Tristan Jarrett. He was named the Player of the Year, while his teammate Javius McInnes will claim the Defensive Player of the Year. Texas Southern's Michael Weathers, he was tabbed the Newcomer of the Year. Southern's Terrell Williams, he was selected the Freshman of the Year, and Prairie View A&M's Byron Smith was voted SWAC Coach of the Year. We take a look at the all-SWAC first team. Tremaine Crosby from Alcorn State, Michael Weathers from Texas Southern, Tristan Jarrett from Jackson State, Cam Mack from Prairie View, and Sean Doss from Arkansas Pine Bluff. They round out the all-SWAC first team. All-SWAC second team is Jawan Daniels from Prairie View A&M, Javius McInnes from Jackson State, Cameron Christian from Grambling, Garrett Hicks from Alabama A&M, and Jalen Johnson from Alabama A&M.
No doubt about it. Mike, what you got else? What else do you have, I should say?
Other news of the day? Yeah, let's give, speaking of, since you're wearing the Aggies hat, let's give them some love. 10 MEAC student athletes set to compete in the NCAA Indoor Track Championships.
Crazy. Go ahead. NCAA.
9 of those students are from what school? Aggie Pride.
Hey, with the
and they say we don't talk about the North Carolina A&T Aggies. Are you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this list. I mean, this basically should have been the whole Aggie track and field team. The only person outside of that 9 is Kiera Grant, the women's 60-meter dash season best 7.2. All the rest belong to the Aggies. Rasheem Brown, men's 60-meter hurdles best 7.7. Javante Harding, men's 200-meter dash, best 20.5. I used to run that fast. Men's 4x4 100-meter relay, the mile relay. Akeem Lindo, men's 4x4. Delisha McDuffie, women's 200-meter dash, best 23.24. Randolph Ross, men's 400-meter dash, 45.21. I used to could run a quarter that fast. 4x100-meter relay, of course. So Trevor Stewart, men's 400-meter dash, 45.55. Daniel Stokes, men's 4x4 meter relay. Tavarius Wright, men's 60-meter dash, 6.57. You know, I used to be a sprinter back then. I could do Elijah Young, men's 4x4 meter relay. So congratulations. I joke around. I'm jovial with it, but this Aggie Pride track and field, well, all of their programs, but their track and field team is bar none one of the best track and field teams in the nation. So congratulations, and I will say Aggie Pride.
No doubt.
Well, before I go back to you, I got to read this one, y'all. Yolanda says, G-Ho for the beginners. Sign up for the virtual course and learn how to eat a fish sandwich properly.
Nice.
No doubt about it. That's pretty good. Let me jump on in here. We got Coach. He's got practice, so we're going to get in here and get out the championship coach. Well, I say 3-time champion. Let me get all these accolades in here, right? Coach of the year, Coach Byron Smith. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. How about you guys? How you guys doing?
I'm doing well. Really proud and excited to get you in here. I know your schedule is hectic, so we won't keep you long. But we did want to get a little insight. You planning to make tournament fun. Obviously, you were able to be successful and cut down the nets. Now it's 2 years ago. It's odd that we have to say that because things didn't work out to have a tournament played last year. But with COVID-19, the experience you had previously, I guess right off the bat, before we ask, exactly how you're feeling, is there anything that you're having to feel that you need to do differently this time around than you did last time?
No, just guys continue to be consistent. Let's just, continue to do the things that we have become accustomed to doing and knowing to do. Obviously, defense is important. Sharing the basketball on offense and just being unselfish. Just playing with a lot of enthusiasm, energy, effort, and toughness. So not a lot of changes here. The only difference is the dates and the year. But we hope that the result will be the same. We're going to approach it just like we have always done that. We don't make a lot of changes. We're pretty vanilla. And I think a lot of the same stuff that you guys have seen for the past 3-4 years, you'll see that coming up this week over here in Birmingham.
No doubt about it. with that being said, I know that you're extremely focused, and nobody could be a head coach without learning all the skills and having confidence. But could you imagine? I mean, now it's done, and I'm sure you want a lot more. It's been over a short period of time, but you're literally, have placed yourself in the record book. And they can't ever take that out. No matter what goes on past this part, you're in the record books, Prairie A&M University. You're in the record books from Southwestern Athletic Conference. I know this may not be fair, but have you had a chance to allow that to kind of resonate to some degree that, that you have achieved some of the things you wanted to achieve at Prairie when you got your chance to be a head coach?
Actually, Dr. Cavil, it's just starting to sink in that we won the conference tournament championship in 2018-19. It's just sinking in today. So it takes a while. I mean, I'm just so immersed in the job and day to day because I don't think I'm the most talented guy. I don't think I'm the best coach, X and O's guy. But I do believe I'm a hard worker. I do believe I'm an effort coach. So I just get so locked into it. It's like the Mamba mentality. Each day you're trying to be better the next day than you were the day before. So obviously, I am aware of the accolades that the program has achieved and some personal accolades to me as a coach. And I do appreciate that. And I'm grateful and thankful that God has given me a platform to be able to be recognized. But again, it's just the effort. It's the grind. It's the next moment. It's the next game. I got to figure out a way, I guess, to start enjoying some of this stuff. But it's like, you take a deep breath and then it's the next game, and it's the next task. And so maybe at some point in time in the off season, maybe I'll get a chance to kind of let it sink in. But right now it's just work.
Certainly, we can understand that. And for the listeners, this is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We have Coach Byron Smith, the head men's basketball coach at Prairie A&M University, 3-time regular season champion, previous 2018 SWAC tournament championship, and seeking his second. And it'll be second in a row since one wasn't played last year. But with that being said, as I start to pass the mic, I did want to let everybody know that you're taking time out of your schedule because you're in getting prepared so many different ways. So I want everybody to know how much you out of your efforts to do this. Let me go to Charles and allow him to ask a follow-up question.
Okay. Coach Smith, congratulations, number one. But I wanted to ask you this question, and it's not to put the cart before the horse, but you and Jackson State both are unique in that you guys finished the regular season undefeated. Should you guys see each other in the tournament, does it present a unique challenge in terms of not having seen them twice during the course of the season?
Well, yes and no. The yes part, we haven't seen them this year, but the no part is that we feel like we know them because Coach Brent, a lot like myself, is pretty much a meat and potatoes, a hard hat, lunch pail type of a guy. Very vanilla. Pretty much every year in and year out, Jackson State's going to be the same. A staunch defensive team, not really an up and down, not really a running gun type team. So pretty much what you're going to do. I think the foundation is set there. I think we've got a really unique culture that Coach Brent has done a great job in establishing. I think the script is still the same, always the same with Jax. I think the characters are the only thing that changes a little bit, and the characters of the players. But he's done a great job in getting those guys to buy in. So we haven't seen them this year live. We would have very eager to see them, wanted to see them, if I can add that. But for whatever reason, we weren't able to make it happen. But I do think if we are able to meet, we've got a real familiarity with them and how they want to play. And I'm sure they feel the same way about us.
Sure thing. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, my pleasure. You're welcome.
Here and ask the follow-up question while we have Coach.
Yeah, Coach Smith, thanks again for taking time out. Real quick, kind of on the same lines, you're getting ready to head into a tournament. You face some teams that you faced already in the season. We know it's very difficult sometimes to beat those teams, twice or 3 times. Philosophy, what's the culture going in that you're infusing into your players, knowing you got to play these, some of these teams, for the second or even third time?
Well, as it relates to the game tomorrow night against Mississippi Valley, you said it. It's very difficult to beat a team 3 times in one space, in one span. We're aware of that, but I know Mississippi Valley is aware of that as well. And we can't take our foot off the gas. I mean, we have to, go out and approach this like, it's 0-0. We didn't win 13 games in a row. We're not 14-3 in the regular season. It's 0-0. We haven't won a game. They haven't won a game. We haven't lost a game. They haven't lost a game. It's on a neutral site. So there's some factors that could interfere, if we're not careful, if we're not, locked in the way that we need to be. The first round, it's 1 versus 8, but, that's the beautiful thing about the postseason. It's a 40-minute game. It doesn't matter who is the best team. It's who's the best team on that particular night. So we're going to go and approach it like we haven't accomplished anything. We're very hungry and humble. We've got some young men that have never really been a part of a postseason of this magnitude. They would like to have a chance to win a conference championship and fulfill a childhood dream. And most of them have told me of being an NCAA participant. So we understand the stakes are high. It's one and done. Lose and go home. Get ready for next season. But I don't think that our guys are going to come out with that approach. We're going to come out and try to jump all over these guys and try to get to the second round.
Thanks, Dr. Coach. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, we have Coach Byron Smith, Prairie A&M University, heads men's basketball. Coach coming in off multiple champions, and he is in Birmingham. Start off with the follow-up question as we move forward.
Yeah, you were breaking up. Did you say Mike? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So, Coach, another high-level question. You've had, Devontae Patterson, Gerald Andrus. Now you supplant them with names like Kim Mack, Earl Roberts, Jawan Daniels. And these guys are either sophomores or juniors. Secret sauce, because you had to reload. What's the secret sauce? What's the formula? You always ask people that make gumbo, what's the rules that you use to put that philosophy in and or to recruit?
Well, first of all, I'm from North Louisiana, so we know nothing about gumbo or good gumbo. I should add, I wish I did. I wish I could talk about that. I can't really expand on it at all. But again, guys, it's culture. I think anybody that's in sports at the professional level, even at the collegiate level, I think Nick Saban at Alabama, that's the standard. How is he able to do that year in and year out? They're either winning the national championship or right there pretty close. And you're talking about 7 national championships. And, so again, you establish your culture. You get guys to buy in. You're very careful in recruiting to make sure that these young men fit what you're trying to do. And that can be a bit challenging, especially last spring, because we didn't get a chance to meet any of these young men in person. The 8 new guys that we brought in, we didn't get a chance to meet them in person because of the restrictions with COVID. So, the good Lord was good to us in that, he matched up, our program and our staff and with some quality young men that were, again, hungry and humble, but had a chip on their shoulder, had something to prove. Several of them had been told that they're not quite good enough for the level that they wanted to go to, or they had a little bit of a hiccup, maybe, academically, or maybe something to do with off the court issue. And we have a couple of those young men, but I'm happy to say that they've been at the time they've been at Prairie, they've been model citizens, had no off the court issues. They've attacked their academics. We had a really good semester academically this fall. I think we had a right at a 3.0, 2.9, 3.0 GPA, so I'm pleased with that. But again, it just goes back to culture, and you establish your culture, you set it. You can bend, but you don't break. And as a man and as a coach and as a leader, you can bend a little bit. You can pretend like maybe I didn't hear that. You can look the other way on a couple things, but you can't break. You can't start giving in to their demands and their wants or basing, what you do off how they feel. You can't. It's going to be a tough practice every day, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And it's like this. If you don't want to practice, you don't have to. It's optional. But me playing you when come game time is optional as well. So, again, we've been able to put our foot down and draw land in the sand. And these guys have bought in. And, we want to continue to do that. So, but it's not always easy, guys. It's easy for me to sit here and tell you that it's not easy. It's a lot of positive reinforcement. I probably lose my voice twice a week with a lot of positive reinforcement that I have to remind these guys of the things that they need to do. But I'm thankful and blessed that they've been willing and they've accepted the instructions and the teaching that we've been giving them, and it's paid off.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
I think that's a great point to talk about it. And thanks for that question, Mike. We got that type of insight. And I think it's a credit to you, Coach, and other coaches that have had some level of success you're talking about, of how easy oftentimes you make it look. Because as fans, we can come spoiled. Whether we see somebody else doing it or ourselves, we see it and we see what you're doing, fans of the program here, and we're like, well, why you do this? So thank you for sharing that insight to let us know that there's a work and an art to this in regards to the appreciation. With that final question, because we certainly want you to need to do with that. I've always had this philosophy in terms of recognition, like marathon, while the conference tournaments like. Is there any truth analysis to that in terms of between the regular season and the tournament? How would you explain it?
Well, yeah, there's a difference. I mean, obviously, the regular season, you pretty much get another chance. I mean, obviously, if you don't accomplish the goal, you don't play the way you want to play, to a certain extent, you get another opportunity because you got 18 conference games. The conference tournament championship, it's like I said, it's one and done. It's lose and pack up. You're at the airport the next morning. So I'm not going to say there's more urgency in the postseason because I'm urgent all the time, Dr. Cavil. You've been to the games.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I act on the sideline, you think we're down by 30 points and we were up by 20. I'm just a person that I don't think you could ever take your foot off the gas. I don't think you could ever become complacent. I don't think you can ever become too sure. It's a sure thing. My mother told me a long time ago, the only sure things in life are death and taxes. So, when you're there and you're playing, you got to play each possession like it's your last. And one of the things that I always tell my guys is that, if we're winning by 20 points, okay, and it's 2 minutes to go, and then you end up finishing that game only winning by 8 points because the team made a run, then you lose the momentum going into your next game. So if you're up by 20, I'm not saying you got to win by 20, but you don't want to have lapses in play in the last few minutes and things like that. So, it's important that you have urgency. We've got a tremendous amount of urgency now because there's an expectation now. When you've had the success that we've had, there's an expectation now. And obviously I know you probably find this hard to believe, Dr. Cavil, but, the people at Prairie View, the PV Nation, they have expectations all of a sudden. So it's like, someone asked me that question one day and said, do you feel pressure? I said, no, I don't feel a lot of pressure. I mean, the standard has been solid, but I don't think Prairie View's really ever excelled, in basketball. I think we've been competitive and we had some good years with, Coach Rim, Coach Plummer, but I think now it's a little bit different. But again, when we step out on the court, there's an expectation from everyone across the world, PV Nation, that, we got to be champions, we got to win, and the purple and gold is back and all that good stuff. I love it. I mean, I love it. I love the support that we get. I love the criticism that I get when I don't beat Texas Southern. It was funny, Dr. Cavil. I was at a game last year, the Prairie View Texas Southern football game downtown at Dynamo Stadium, and a buddy of mine, I thought he was a buddy. He was a buddy till he asked me this question. I walked by. He said, and this was after we had gone 17-1 and had a great year. And do you know he mentioned that one loss to Texas Southern? He said, Byron, man, you man, why did you do that? I mean, you took your foot off the gas, man. I lost money on you, man. You shouldn't have done. I'm like, you're right. I'll make it up to you. But he didn't talk about the 17 wins. He didn't talk about the 22. The 22 regular season wins, 22-13, and then NCAA tournament. He just talked about that one particular night in HBE. So but fortunately, we ended up beating them the last time that year, and I saw him again, and he said, I appreciate it, Byron. Way to make up for it. So I guess we're friends again, guys. I guess he and I are friends again.
I was just going to say, are y'all friends again?
I think so. Yes, sir. Yes.
Hey, boy, you got some tough friends.
Absolutely. Hey, we're friends like that. Who needs enemies, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
We have to work this out a little bit, Coach. I'm gonna help you out. I can do that. And I like to say, I really like your moves that you had on the sideline. I didn't know you could move like that. We were so serious in there. I was like, oh, finally we get just a little bit of the inside of the coach. So it's good to see that in all seriousness. And I like to say that no matter what happens in the tournament, a group of us, we're going to do something special for this team. in yourself in terms of, steaks, potatoes, whatever you want. Obviously, we got to let you get some time out, and we'll make sure it's done safely in COVID-19. And I'm doing this over here just to let you know I'm committed to that, because when you find people that are committed to players and that happen to be at your program, you have to be able to say thank you, and not always the criticism. I mean, that needs to be said at times, and it's part of the business, but there's also to be able to say appreciation and thank you. And we represented on this show. We appreciate that. So we won't take up any further of your time, but I certainly wanted to make sure that you knew a lot of people, even though you might not hear it all. Thank you for what you do. Continue the great work. Good luck this tournament.
All the best, guys. Thanks for having me, and God bless.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
That is Coach Byron Smith, the head men's basketball coach at Prairie A&M University, 3-time regular season champion, won the last SWAC tournament when they had it. Remember, it was canceled last year, and he's going to see if he can go back and get it done together again. Other teams out there gunning for him, though. You have Texas Southern University that's going to be right in the mix. He talked about how difficult that challenge is. And then you had another team that's undefeated on the men's side. And I'm sure they believe that they get a chance to make a statement and get back to the tournament. So it'll be an interesting tournament. And it's not even counting those other teams like Southern and Grambling. And I'm sure that they believe that they have their rightful chance to get hot in the tournament and get it done. And then you have it on the MEAC side where we get a chance to discuss that a little more. But before we do that, we're going to take a break. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hang in there. We'll be right back to give you more of the lab.
I'm returning Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. The professors are in the house. Hopefully you enjoyed our interview with none other than Coach Byron Smith. Always a fascinating interview, so I wanted to get a chance to get somebody into the lab before they head into the tournament. So many teams, so many business. It was hard to get somebody, but you see as they're getting the practice in, and Coach was gracious to make sure you get in. And we'll get some more as we transition through. We'll see if we can get some maybe involved based on who's able to get out of the tournament. It's always a tough time as they're traveling, getting prepared to get it done, but we were gracious in this. So I want to give a shout out. Keith Benton has joined us, Jarvis Austin, Kimberly Reynolds, National President, Prairie A&M Alumni Association, getting in here and giving some love. Lawrence D. White is in the house, Sarah Beverly watching us and giving some information with that. I wanted to sneak in here and give some information before I got your thoughts on this and got back into the business with that in terms of maybe some of more of the basketball mix-up. We'll do the poll, and that way you'll get a chance to break down the tournament and see what you said. But I wanted to give a little shout out because the brooms came out this weekend. You know, we teased that last weekend talking about the bats. The Pings were going to start this last weekend. Started out with some rivalry games. On the east side, there was a rivalry between interstates of the last champions of the Eastern Division and the entire tournament the last couple of years between Jackson State and Alabama State. A couple of close games, but Jackson State got it done. They swept Alabama State, making an early season statement. Then you come over a little bit and you go back into Louisiana coming out of Mississippi. And you had the intrastate rivalry going on between Grambling and Southern. Southern brings out the brooms and they sweep Grambling. This is a Grambling team that was picked to win the division in a lot of ways. 2 close games, but big time matchups. Big throw from Southern in the second game to get it done. Extra innings and then a walk to bring in the winning run to win that game, and they ultimately swept. And then you come on over to Texas, and you got the rivalry game between Prairie and Texas Southern. Texas Southern brings out the broom. First game was close. All the games were close. We talked a little bit about that on that Sunday show. But at the end of the day, you had 3 sweeps. I would have never thought that in terms of those type of rivalry games. Maybe 1 in the mix, but 3 sweeps. Early statement, pretty big time intrigue about that. So I did want to get your little insight as Black College Nines are taking in their votes. So you see a poll coming out pretty soon. It'll be interesting to see what will these previous week matchups in the last couple of weeks see in terms of the poll rankings. But let me go to you, Charles. What were your thoughts in terms of, in general, baseball, those sweeps? In particular, you can look at a game or two to break down what your thoughts was that.
Yeah, I think you touched on it. I mean, those were early statements made amidst all the hoopla with Jackson State Athletics this past weekend with football and basketball. Baseball team is one that turned my head also. Nicole Glass, huge pitching in that rubber game to get the sweep for Jackson State. He's arguably their best pitcher on staff. So to get those first 2 games, Friday and Saturday, then come back and make a definitive statement on Sunday, that was huge for Jackson State, taking on what has become their nemesis in Alabama State. Alabama State has really given them fits over the past few years. So early statement about Jackson State's baseball team. And then Southern, they just do what Southern does and came out and got a sweep against Grambling, huge. And same thing for Texas Southern. So
jump in there with that before I let you talk about Texas Southern and Prairie View. That's debut. That was new coach over there at Southern University getting it done. That was huge for him.
That was huge.
Great point that you're making there. But go ahead with that Prairie View, Texas Southern, as Texas Southern seems to do what they do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Prairie View wanted to be the upstart, if you will, over there in the SWAC West and get their program turned around. It was an opportunity for them to make an early season huge statement, but Texas Southern wasn't having any of it. So kudos to all 3 of those teams for putting down their early marker in terms of saying you've got to go through them to get that SWAC title.
Before I go to you, Mike, and break down your thoughts on that baseball, I want to give a shout out. I believe this is Senator Frazier, am I correct, out of Mississippi?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Senator Hillman Frazier, distinguished. Great all-around week for JSU. I must agree with him on that. Just want to make sure we shout out when we have dignitaries at that level joining us. We really appreciate you coming in the lab and sharing your thoughts. Thank you for all the work you're doing for the state of Mississippi and beyond. With that, let me jump to you, Mike. What are your thoughts a little bit on the baseball there?
Well, the one that stood out to me was the Jackson State over Alabama State victory. I was surprised in the fashion that Jackson State was able to make an early statement. You're talking about over the last 3 or 4 years, a team that has led the SWAC in batting average and slugging percentage, going against a team that has led the league in team ERA pitching.
Yeah.
And Jackson State basically took it to them. That's a really big early statement. So I was like, wow, are we seeing a powerhouse championship team in Jackson State? Only the rest of the season will tell. So, and then, with Southern University coming out and playing the way they did, I didn't expect that. I did, to a certain degree, expect it from Texas Southern with their pitching staff. They typically keep a very deep roster in the pitching staff, so I expected that. But the one that stands out the most to me is Jackson State. And ironically, if you look at the rankings, I don't know how they do it. They have, I think, Alcorn on top of the East and Southern on top of the West. But really, Jackson State and Alabama State are probably going to be the 2 that come out of that. But Jackson State made the clear, definitive early statement.
Yeah.
Man, great points you make there. Both of y'all made. Let me make sure that Shivery's not dead. And we're going to get in here and talk about a little bit of SWAC women's soccer, SWAC volleyball on the women's side. and this is going to do Charles Hartwell when you talk about Jackson State's Alexandria Drummer and Brian Walker have been recognized by the Southwestern Athletic Conference and the SWAC Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week, respectively, for their outstanding performance in league competition. Offensively, Drummer scored 1 goal on 2 shots on goal in just 12 minutes play in her first collegiate game for Jackson State Lady Tigers, getting it done. Defensively, Walker helped guide Jackson State to a 4-2 win against the rival, Alcorn State. She scored 1 goal and 2 shots on goal while also performing outstanding on the defensive end of the field. Solid for that. And on the women's side, on volleyball, continue with the women. SWAC is named Jackson State Alexis Williams, Alcorn State's Maria Wilmer, and Mackenzie Young Mully, and Arkansas Pine Bluff's Nicole Akaimine, Akaimine. It's Volleyball Players of the Week for their outstanding performance in the league competition. I have to make sure I get that right there. So women are getting it done and playing some good soccer and volleyball. In this case, Jackson State is just tearing it up. Many different shout out to VP of Athletics, getting you done down there in so many different ways. Ashley continues to do some big time things. I knew he'd get it right. I told everybody to listen to me in terms of he's going down there that just give him a little time and you see what he gets done down there. Any thoughts in terms of just Jackson State athletics? They're quickly turning in what we see over there at North Carolina A&T in a lot of ways. They sitting there finding ways to get it done.
Well, all my buddies, they joke with me about a comment that I made in terms of, what a time it is to be an Aggie. Well, now I can finally start to say what a time it is to be a Jackson State Tiger in terms of what they've been able to do all around their sports. Shout out to Dr. Ted Flagaitis, the women's soccer coach. He is a tremendous coach, tremendous motivator. We had an opportunity to talk to him on the podcast sometime last year, and you could really tell that he was going to take that soccer program in a different direction. Rose Washington with the volleyball team, same thing in terms of their passion for making sure that those teams are really put in the work and put in the effort. And I can't say enough about my VP of Intercollegiate Athletics, Ashley Robinson. He is putting in work over there, and hopefully when I get over there, we get a chance to get back out there on the golf course.
Rub it in. Stop. Enough. Stop.
Mike, Prairie's winning championships. You not getting a chance to go on the golf course with the athletic director?
Not yet. Not yet. Stop.
You have to get your game up, man. Get your weight up, man. I don't know what you're
doing. Yes, I am sprinkling all kinds of hate on that. What?
Well, in terms of MEAC volleyball, Copper State Junior, Miss Coleman was selected as the MEAC Volleyball Player of the Week presented by Coca-Cola. Just wanted to give her a shout out in terms of what she's getting done there in a lot of ways. And share a little bit of the softballs out there. We'll do that as we move forward. But I wanted to get into a little bit of the basketball in terms of what's your thoughts on this tournament before we get too far into this. Y'all want to start with the MEAC or the SWAC?
But before you go there, can I just add a little comment on the SWAC volleyball?
Yes, please do. Oh,
yeah. So while we're giving accolades to Jackson State, who's probably the top team in the SWAC, I think they're 5-0 undefeated. Prairie View is right behind them, sitting at about 7-1, 9-2. Prairie View did lose the head-to-head, but if you look at offensive leaders, it's a Prairie View Jackson State show. So team, if you look at leaders, who you got? You got Victoria Pearson for Prairie View. We had her on 1876 Sports and Podcast. Kamira Coffey. They're leading basically the SWAC in hitting percentage. And my new favorite category, kills. Yeah, that kills. That's right. So while we're giving some love to the Jackson State, let's also give some love to the Prairie View team, who is sitting right behind them and chasing them at that second spot. They're very competitive. They just finished a sweep of Texas Southern, so they are ready, as we say on the hill.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I knew you would find a way to get it in there, but it was deserved as they're sitting in there getting a lot of mix. let's go with the SWAC women, and then we'll get into a little bit of the MEAC and see what your thoughts are there. Things kick off on Wednesday. In terms of tomorrow, you have Jackson State facing number 8 Mississippi Valley. That's an in-state rival. Valley struggled this year. Jackson State is really playing well. Any thoughts in terms of what that looks like? And before you do that, let's go ahead and talk about that number 2 seed Alabama State taking on Texas Southern University of 7. Between those two matchups, any upset on Wednesday that may take place between those? Go to you, Mike.
No. Emphatically no.
Charles?
Won't happen.
Yeah, I don't see the upset, the early upsets happening. I think actually this season has kind of played out exactly how we thought it might play out. It's going to be very interesting to see the two teams, I think, in the SWAC championship. But a team that I'm always going to keep an eye out for is Southern. Southern has the ability when they put everything together to knock off both Alabama State and Jackson State. And we've seen Southern knock off Alabama State during the course of the season.
I would agree that Southern's an X factor, but right now I think all roads collide with Alabama State and Jackson State meeting.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Well, then Thursday you have the 4 or 5 matchup with Grambling State and Alabama A&M. And then you also have, obviously, the matchup between Southern at the 3 seed versus Auburn State at the 6. Any chance of upset on Thursday?
No, I don't think. I think Alabama A&M, the higher seed, should be able to take care of Grambling. I think it'll be a scrappy game, but I do like Dariana Lewis for Alabama A&M. She is a stalwart for that team and could take them to a very good matchup with Jackson State or Alabama State, whoever that they should collide with.
Mike, any thoughts on there? Y'all not making this very fun.
No, I agree with them. Dariana Lewis, and I even throw in Deshauna Harper.
Yeah, exactly.
A&M. They're top of the stats in the top of the charts in stats. So if they play like they've played this season, I'd see no reason they shouldn't take care of Grambling.
No doubt about it. What about on the women's side for the MEAC? Anything that you have going into that tournament? Any matchups that you think that you should keep your eyes on, Charles?
I'm waiting on A&T and Howard whenever they get together. I think that's going to determine everything. I think those are the two top teams that stand out for me. I think you have a great player in terms of Danye Red at Morgan State, but I think Howard, Jayla Thornton, what she's been able to do at Howard this past season, Anjanae Hutton. I mean, they are a dynamic 1-2 punch for Howard. They've had them up in the top of the standings all season thus far in the MEAC. And I think all signs point to A&T and Howard butting heads in the championship game.
I can't get you to get any love for Norfolk State in terms of the number 2 seed on the women's side. No love there.
I want to, but I can't get over the hump. I can't get over the hump. I think it'll be Howard and A&T.
Mike?
Again, I agree. All roads point to Howard and North Carolina State. You mentioned Norfolk State. If anybody else is an outside factor, maybe Morgan State.
Yeah.
So if anybody else, but I'm looking forward to North Carolina A&T and Howard.
Well, let me see if I can get you a bite on something on the men's side. It may be a little more interesting on the men's side of the MEAC when you talk about some of those matchups. Obviously, you have the teams coming out of the Northern Division that were tied with Norfolk State, Coppin State. You had Morgan State that had that major end of the season loss that took them out of being the number 1 seed to Delaware State. And then you have North Carolina A&T coming out of the South, but you have that FAMU matchup with Morgan State coming in there. Anything that you look at in terms of the MEAC men's side, I think it's a little more interesting. It's a matchup of Norfolk State, North Carolina Central. Coach Mouton always gets hot in the tournament. I can't get you to buy anything in on what's going on the MEAC men's side. Can you give me something, Charles? Something to sink my teeth in?
Coppin State, the Tart brothers.
Yep.
I think they are an X-Factor team that I'd keep an eye on. I know Norfolk State They normally are so balanced in terms of their scoring that they give teams fits. But I think Coppin State is a team to keep your eye on in this game. Anthony Tark, he's been one of the best players in the MEAC all season, especially what he's been able to do is offensively. We knew about his defensive prowess, but he's put it all together this season. And Coppin State is poised, I think, to make a title run.
Mike, what do you say?
No, I would agree. Norfolk State. I would say, you mentioned Central. I would say if they had a 500 record this year, they do play well in the tournaments, but I hadn't seen it. I would agree with Coppin State. If anybody else has an outside, hitter's chance, Coppin State has some really good victories this year, against, Morgan State of all teams, Norfolk State. So they are a solid team. And I think if they bring it on any given night, they can upset a team. But outside of that, it's A&T and Norfolk State.
And I think A&T might have a player that'll be missing for the tournament. I think I read today that there was a suspension of that young man. So that could damage their title hopes because he was tremendous in terms of rebounding for A&T.
The other thing that scares me is that A&T has not played Norfolk State. They haven't played, I don't think they played Coppin State or Morgan or any of those teams this year. They played, to me, what I would call kind of a weaker or lesser Southern Division schedule. So if I look at their schedule, I don't know how competitive they stack up. That's the unknown for me. I do give them a hand at being at the end, close to the championship, but I don't know how they match up against a very tough Norfolk State, Coppin State team.
Yeah, that is Tyrone that you're talking about, Tyrone Lyons that you're talking about, A&T. So that's a great point there. I would say this about the MEAC tournament. I think it's fascinating. With only 6 teams in the tournament, I think keep your eyes on that. You have these teams that have not played each other. You see a little bit of that in terms of the SWAC, but for the most part, you saw most teams got to play each other. So you got some evidence of this. With the way they did the MEAC with the North Division and South Division, you don't know. And these are teams that are going to play for the first time. So there's some wide openness about that. And then you talk about some of these key matchups. That matchup between Coach Mouton and when you talk about Norfolk State and North Carolina Central, they faced off in the championship game. So big time matchups there. Coaches, Norfolk State may not be what you thought, but they're game tournament teams that know how to turn it on. Coaches that know how to be fascinating. And then you talk about the Morgan State and FAMU. You got the coach of the year and FAMU's coach there. They're going to want to make a statement. A&T trying to take the championship with them as they leave the conference. You have the MEAC teams that want to remain in there. Some people thought Juan Dixon should have been coach of the year. So it's going to be fascinating when you talk about what's going on there. So I'm really interested in that side of it. In terms of the SWAC on the men's side, I think that Jackson State with that 2 seed got the toughest draw. I mean, they play a rivalry in Valley. Yeah, you probably don't think much about it in terms of what's going on there in terms of that first round. They play Arkansas Pine Bluff. Those games have been both close. The second one, overtime. Obviously, one of the Jackson State's players didn't play in that game. But, in the first game, it was single digits. It stretched out to multiple digits was left as you got to the end of that game. So it's something sneaky about that game. And then the style of play plays well for Arkansas Pine Bluff. So that's one of those games in a new court, all that pressure. To me, that's one to keep your eyes on in terms of what that looks like. If they get over that hump, you go a long way. But then you got in the second round, you got to match it with Texas Southern, a team that you haven't faced again in terms of what that looks like. A team that's better. I think Jackson State, Texas Southern, in terms of the lower part of that bracket, that 2-3 potential matchup, Alcorn State in the second round playing your rivalry game. If you get that, I just that bracket is tough. Not to say that Prairie has it the easiest, but I think they have a much clearer path in terms of what they've been able to show. Yes, you always look at a tough Southern team. If they get into that semifinals, they can give the Prairie View the business. And then Grambling has played Prairie View tough both games, similar to what I'm talking about Pine Bluff and that. So those are interesting for me. As we start to get close to the top of it, anything that you want to say in terms of either one of those that keep your eyes on? Do you agree with what I said there? Or what's your thoughts there as we get to the top of the show?
Completely agree. Arkansas Pine Bluff and Jackson State is a game. I think if you're a Jackson State fan, it should concern you. Definitely Arkansas Pine Bluff, they match up well with Jackson State. And oddly enough, I think Jackson State matches up much better this year with Texas Southern and Prairie View. But for whatever reason, that Arkansas Pine Bluff game is always a tough game for Jackson State. Sean Doss is a scorer, and if he gets hot, he will give you issues. And then Arkansas Pine Bluff does a decent job, I think, of rebounding with Jackson State. I think Jackson State does a great job, I think, of defensive and offensive rebounds, and Arkansas Pine Bluff, some type way they kind of nullify that. So that'll be an interesting first round matchup for Jackson State. But I think if they can get past Pine Bluff, I do think that they have a good puncher's chance to get to the championship game.
Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Texas Southern is going to be a tough matchup. I think you alluded to it, Doc. They finished third in the conference. They had 2 losses to Prairie View. I think they also have 1 loss to Grambling. If I'm kind of going off memory there, but I think they'll be a tough team to play in the playoffs. So if you win your first round and you got to play a tough Texas Southern team, that may be a game to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you a lot there. For those that thought we'd get in a little more on the football, we wanted to give a little tease more in terms of the basketball. Make sure we share love. Check this out, our show that we did Sunday if you want to get into the deep dive of what took place Saturday. It was crazy. We really went into it. So if you want to go back, go check us out and see what we said on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, YouTube, BCSN. You can check us out and see what we said there. But I did want to give a shout out to Alabama A&M. They really took it to South Carolina State, dominated the last 3 quarters of their game, close early. And then you had fantastic matchups, big-time games. Shout out to Jackson State, Coach Prime, Coach Sanders, in terms of what he was able to do, get the monkey off the back, as you talked about, Charles, on Sunday, going into Grambling. It's not an easy place to play, certainly not to get in there and get a win. And it's been a monkey off the back for Jackson State in particular. They got it done, winning a game, holding their control after they thought that they may have given it away, and they could have pulled it away, but they make a big play late in the game on the goal line to get it done. Credit to what was going on there. Then obviously you go down to the Bluff with Arkansas Pine Bluff taking it to the Bluff, to the Southern Jaguars. Credit to what Pine Bluff was able to get done in there. And late in the game, well, I shouldn't say in the second half of the game, they were pulling away, really doing some damage there. Southern does what they do to find a way to make it close, but Pine Bluff holds on, gets it done. And then you get the nightcap down at Prairie View, where Texas Southern has showed that they are changing the direction of their program, played really tough. Many people's eyes thought that they probably should have got that victory. Prairie View did what they needed to do in terms of being home and finding a way to get the victory against Texas Southern University. So, again, big-time matchups there in terms of what was going on there. Not any changes in the poll rankings in terms of basketball and on men's and women's side. There was a change in terms of 3, 4, and 5 switching, if you would. You had North Carolina A&T move up to 3 from the 4th spot. You had the 5 spot, Texas Southern moving up to the 4th spot, and you had Norfolk State dropping to the 3 spot. So we'll see how that goes on in terms of what that looks like. So it's a little interesting in there in terms of that matchup. I did want to say something about the men poll rankings in terms of football rankings in week 2. So we had 3 teams that jump in the poll early. A lot of that stuff happens. Teams dropping out with Southern Jaguars, Grambling State Tigers, and South Carolina State Bulldogs. They dropped out of the top 5. Those 3 teams receiving votes in terms of Grambling, Southern, and Texas Southern receiving votes. But the top 5 teams, Delaware State Hornets, 1-0, 69 points. They were not ranked. Number 4, Arkansas Pine Bluff, 1-0, obviously 76 points. As they were not ranked, bringing us to number 3, Prairie and Panthers stay at number 3. They still hold on to the first place vote. Number 2 is Jackson State, 2-0, 5 first place votes, 108 points, not ranked. They jumped all the way to number 2 and earned a lot of first place votes. People were impressed in terms of what they were able to do against Grambling. Number 1, Alabama A&M. They remain at number 1, 6 first place votes, as they show off why a lot of people think they were number 1 ranking. 6 first place votes. So that's your top 5 teams. Quickly, Charles, any concern top 5?
No concern with the top 5. That's a program-changing victory by Jackson State over Grambling. Much the same way we saw Prairie View go to Southern and get a win. That was a big win a few years ago. Much the same way Grambling got that huge win in Lorman. It changed the program. That's what that win was for Jackson State.
The Dean of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our interview with the head men's basketball coach of Prairie A&M University, Byron Smith, as he gets ready for the tournament. Again, we thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday right here at 6 o'clock. We look forward next week as we will discuss the latest in the news. And when I say next week, actually that's this Thursday. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Horse.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.